So I'm dreaming of this place. It's Leopold's Book Bar Cafe. It's the dreamiest bookstore, cafe, and cocktail bar combo you'll ever find. And it's right here at 1301 Regent Street. They've got the latest books from around the world, wines to sip or take home, and live jazz, plus open hours until midnight most nights of the week. You can grab a drink or dessert and just kick back at Leopold's.
Today on CityCast Madison. It's the Friday News Roundup. This week I'm joined by CityCast Madison's Molly Stentz and Hayley Sperling. The governor stopped by the Majestic Theater for a live taping of Slate's political Gabfest. A new state-of-the-art election center is coming to Dane County. And we have your suggestions for Madison-based Halloween costumes. It's Friday, October 27th. I'm Dylan Brogan, and here's what Madison's talking about. It's the Great Friday Roundup Live with the sheriff of this here podcast, Molly Stentz, featuring email empress Hayley Sperling. On assignment this week, Bianca Martin, and your host, Don Pardo impersonator, Dylan Brogan. Good morning, Molly.
Well, hello.
Hi, Hayley.
Hello, Dylan. Thank you for that introduction.
You're welcome. So, Molly, we saw something cool the other night, didn't we?
It was so fun to see you and see everybody Wednesday night at the Majestic downtown. The Slate Political Gabfest was in town, recording a live episode of their podcast. And man, Madison, did y'all pack the house? Madison turned out. It was so nice to see. And my God, the Gabfest has been running for 17 years. I feel like that's some serious cred as a podcast, okay?
Totally.
I mean, we've been running this podcast for nearly a year, and that feels like a whole lot. Hard to remember, 17 years ago, 2005, W was president. We're still in the middle of the Iraq War. Hurricane Katrina. There was a lot going on that year. But here we are in 2023. So if you haven't heard that episode yet, Governor Tony Evers was the guest on the show. And there was a lot of talk about how to govern amid political chaos, which there is no shortage of this year, 2023. There's a lot of talk of gerrymandering of political maps and also what it means to be boring. But I gotta say, our boss, who is the CEO of CityCast, David Plotz, he got the governor to swear. I mean, that doesn't happen that often. I was a little surprised by that.
No malarkey here.
I feel like he reserves it for when he, for emphasis, for when he's really mad, which maybe was originally what swear words were intended to be.
I'm trying to think of the last time. I think it was when he went down to the legislature and had one of his appointees that wasn't getting that's when he said it.
Yeah.
And all the radio station aired it.
It made news. I remember it being in AP. Everybody was like, ooh,
That man said a swear. Oh, no. What are we going to do?
It's like the principal saying a swear word.
Yeah.
My God, guard my virgin ears, please.
Good thing it was a podcast and not a broadcast. I have to admit, from all my years in broadcast, I had that moment where I was like, and then I was like, oh, it's a podcast. No FCC regulations here.
What did you guys think of the governor? I mean, he certainly was, I would say, realistic about the current political situation the state faces, while hopeful. But I mean, I guess the takeaway that I heard from the governor was, well, things will straighten themselves out because people are generally good.
He is an optimist.
He is.
I do call him the Mr. Rogers of Wisconsin.
I can see that. I could see that 100%. I think, like you said, Dylan, he seems to have a lot of faith in the people, and also faith in the system. And as a skeptical person, perhaps I have a little bit less of each of those. But it's nice to hear that from a public official. And also, it was nice to hear him speak in person. I have never seen him, like outside of the Capitol, even like on the campaign trails. So it was kind of interesting to see him dressing it down in his little sweater vest. Also, just like a quick aside, I loved seeing his security guards that were standing on both ends of the Majestic stage, who were also in like matching button-up polo shirts and small sweater vest. I was like, there's no way this large man picked out that outfit for himself. Like, Tony Evers is very much dressing his security team, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, from like the Duluth Trading Company.
Yeah, I wonder if they have a sponsorship.
Yeah.
I literally almost ran into one of those dudes, and I did not even recognize him. I was just like, why is this guy hanging out by the stairwell behind the Majestic? And I was like, he's kind of in my way. And then I saw the earpiece, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, you can always spot Secret Service by like dudes who look aggressively like dads. They may or may not have kids of their own, but they look dadded.
Sum up the rest of this Gabfest for us. People should listen to it.
So I thought the best question of the night actually came from John Dickerson, who asked the governor if he had to do it all over again, would he still go into education? Like, would he still recommend a career in education in 2023?
What's the governor going to say, though? No?
That was a moment, though, because the crowd, it's Madison. It was very sympathetic to the governor. People were there on his side. And yet that was a moment where I felt like he was like, oh, of course. But the crowd was not buying it.
Because it's hard to want to be a teacher these days, to want to be an educator, to want to have to potentially put yourself in a dangerous situation every day for not enough money. I had a hard time believing him on that one. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I had a hard time believing that one.
And one of my favorite other podcasters who I have listened to forever, Mike Duncan, who does the Revolutions podcast and History of Rome and has written some great books. He was there at the end too. It was awesome.
I did love when Mike Duncan gave his cocktail chatter and he kind of grabbed the mic. I was like, "Whoa, we're getting another episode." But I gotta say, there was that moment where he was talking about the plague, and there was a shout from the audience. And we all know who it was. A guy who clapped for the plague.
The guy who has good timing and saw that a moment of levity might have been needed. You'll just have to listen to the podcast to see what we're talking about. It's pretty funny. So we got more news to talk about. But first, let's just take a quick break. And then we'll see you in a minute. So we all know.
Mo money, mo problems. Money woes certainly do come into most of our lives at one point or another. But not having the money you need? Now that's costly. Bills, fines, and fees pile up and just feed off of each other. And research shows that half of adults struggling with debt also have a mental health issue. Most of those people said their financial situation made it worse. Attorney Z. Usman with Usman Law has helped thousands of people fight back against abusive debt collectors. And he wants to help you too. He sees daily the mental load debt leaves on families and individuals. And he wants to help relieve some of the pressure. Could you use a free financial health checkup? If so, visit madtownlawyer.com and schedule a free call with expert attorney Usman, the finance fixer.
Know how important elections are in Dane County for a lot of reasons. We also have some officials that take elections very seriously. And something that's kind of been in the works, I think, probably for longer than we think, but definitely the last couple of years, is a new election center is coming to Dane County, a state-of-the-art election center. So it was announced recently that the county is expected to purchase the former Ale Asylum brewery on Packers Ave and convert it into this storage and offices and training center that will basically consolidate Madison and Dane County's elections facility into one secure location. Did you see the press conference? It was pretty funny. They used kegs as impromptu lectern. And
That's actually cute. I kind of like that. I love a good press conference bit.
What a Madison story.
Yeah, and there was a task force last year that kind of looked at election security in the county and gave some recommendations. And that the big takeaway from that task force was we kind of need a dedicated facility that is secure, that has cameras. And during the press conference, Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald, he highlighted 3 threats for why this facility is needed. 1, election deniers. 2, Russians.
Oh, boy.
And 3, water. A big part of this is just the rise in threats that we've had against county and local municipal clerks. I mean, that task force found that 84% of Dane County clerks say that threats against election officials have increased in recent years, and 14% say threats have remained the same, 2% say they have decreased. But 84% saying that basically ever since the 2020 election that they got people who, are at least communicating that they're not happy with Dane County election officials. They think something is amok. And our facilities right now, particularly at the city-county building, there's just, it was not built. It's supposed to be a publicly accessible building, and there's just a lot of security issues that they found, and Homeland Security actually did a review of it. To give an example, on the day of this Homeland Security site review, a person wearing camouflage and a face mask entered the city clerk's office with a camera, created a disturbance, moved around the city-county building, attempting to open locked doors, and by the time law enforcement arrived, the man had already left the building and was never identified.
And that was not a drill. That was actually just a rando that came in and did that?
I had exactly the same question, and we have to get Scott McDonald on the podcast to talk about this, because I'm like, did that really happen the day that Homeland Security was doing the review? Because that kind of speaks volumes of why this new facility is needed, because there's not enough cameras. And I think, I wish we didn't have to be so paranoid about things, but yeah, can you imagine, though, if someone just came in and just destroyed all of a town's ballots on election day just to mess with things? Like, what kind of chaos that could create for the whole country? Like this, man, I do think there needs to be a safer facility for such an important process.
So is this where the city clerk and the county clerk will set up shop on election day?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. There's a lot of storage that needs to be, a better storage system needs to be in place. So why Scott McDonald labeled water as one of the threats and of why this facility is needed is because where Madison has been storing its election scanners, apparently there's a bunch of toilets above it, and it has flooded twice and ruined this equipment. So clearly some better storage is needed. So that's going to be a big part of it. I do think it's
like a decade ago, though.
I think it was a decade ago, and then I think it was not that long ago. Yeah, you're right. One of them was a while ago.
So, okay, most of the ballot information is transmitted electronically, right? So that will still happen, but then this is where they will actually truck the physical copies of the ballots that are in the tabulators.
Absolutely. And, those have to be stored for a certain amount of time. There's the state sometimes randomly picks a polling site to do an audit on. The county does an audit. There's a canvas.
Yeah,
so
and if there was a recount, that
yes.
instead of the Monona Terrace, they would have a facility already ready.
And I just think they're just going to load this thing up with cameras, and if anyone has any questions about what's going on in there, they can be like, here's the video. I think that is a huge part of it.
Does it also come with beer?
No. Yes.
Important.
They're keeping all the stills in there.
I mean, for election clerk retention, might be a strategy.
This is a serious topic. They don't get to drink beer where they're counting ballots.
We need election workers. It's dire.
Yes, we do.
I'll take some booze with these ballots, please.
All this talk of elections has actually got me thinking about a pretty good Halloween costume. I'm going to be a local municipal clerk.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I love that. How are you going to personify your local municipal clerk?
I'm going to be very helpful. I exist to assist. I'm going to have that on there. I'm going to be very open and transparent. I'm going to be good at counting.
That's all the things you need. I love that. I love
Yes.
that. That's a great place to kick us off, Dylan. Thank you. Because Halloween is right around the corner. If you didn't know, Halloween's on a Tuesday this week, which is not as ideal. But last week, I put out the question to all of you listening right now and all of the Madison Minutes readers and just the greater Madison internet community to ask what your costume would look like if you had a Madison-themed Halloween. And I got a lot of really, really great responses. Some people are really creative. Of course, we've got everything from local celebrities to rotten produce. And yeah, I thought I'd give some of these ideas a little highlight. If anyone out here needs a last minute costume idea, or if you just want to spice it up from that kind of every year witch or vampire, why not put a little local spin on something? Are you ready?
Yeah, what was your favorite one?
Ooh, it's hard to tell with like a favorite. I honestly got so many good responses. I was kind of surprised. So some of my favorites have surrounded like local celebrities. One of the classics that we put together was Paul Soglin. And this one, I kind of came up with the spin that he is mayor for life and in death. So you could do this one as either like the classic Soglin, you dress it up, you wear your little suit, tie, put your big mustache on, and there you go. You put a name tag on that says, "Hi, I'm Paul," whatever.
Classic Soglin.
Classic. Perhaps if you are lucky enough to own one of the Save State Street shirts from Tone Madison, people will get it right away. But you can also make him the mayor of death by putting on some zombie makeup. And so then you can say like he's risen from the dead to run for office again. Just like he did when he said he wasn't going to run for mayor and then ran for mayor again. You never know when he's going to come and get you, come into your polls, come into a ballot near you.
You could also do young Soglin where he's beat up from the cops.
He's got so many eras, right? And so aside from young Soglin, we also have some Madison inside jokes, like the Woodman's Produce section. The Woodman's Produce section can be a very scary place. If you are a frequenter of the Madison Reddit, it often comes up as a subject of conversation. Everyone's like, Woodman's Produce, so gross, why not? And I've got no shade against Woodman's. I love Woodman's. Talk to anyone in Madison, we love Woodman's. Go listen to our Madison Hacks episode, we love Woodman's. But you can dress up as your favorite piece of produce and add some little cotton balls and make it a moldy produce, and that is a very deep cut for Madison, but it's a good one.
Obscure.
Woodman's has a lot of good costume ideas. You could be that cleaning robot. Have you seen that thing? Oh my God, there's a robot that goes around cleaning the floors. You could be one of those just like tiles that makes that very distinctive noise when you run a cart over it.
Yeah, the tiles are a great one too. And one more like local deep cut that I really liked. Someone said that you could dress up as a Triangulador mattress. So if you don't know him, he's one of our local artists, and I thought it would be cool. You could like cut a hole in a sheet and wear it as like a tunic, and then kind of spray paint your own vibe to it. So it's kind of like you are the art and the artist, you are the trash and the reborn. There's a lot going on there. And then for anyone that really just needs a last minute lazy costume, this one may have actually been my favorite. Dress in all yellow, orange, or white and walk around in your squeakiest shoes, and there you go. You are a fresh, squeaky cheese curd. Happy Halloween, everyone.
I feel like if we're going with obscure, I feel like, Dylan, you could almost pull off John Nolan with that mustache if you just had like a bow tie and a big old map of Madison.
You know what that guy looks like? He had a mustache.
I mean, I can see the photos from the Historical Society.
We have the technology, but I would love to see everyone's costumes. Send us your costumes. We are madison@citycast.fm. If you got a local idea, I'd like to hear it, Madison's official trick-or-treating hours are October 31st from 4 to 8 p.m. We'll see you on the streets.
We sure will. Hayley Sperling, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dylan.
Molly Stentz, always a pleasure.
Always good to be here.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. Bianca Martin is your host. We're produced by Exandra McMahon, Molly Stentz, and me, Dylan Brogan. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. You can also get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to Madison Minutes, written by newsletter editor Hayley Sperling. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with someone who dresses like Governor Tony Evers? See you back here Monday morning with more news from around the city. Until then,